You end up looking like this when all you wanted was better skin. Imagine knowing that you have to go to work with a droopy eye now. Botox can actually make you look worse if you get it wrong. Droopy eyelids and eyebrows are just two risks of many that you should know about if you're planning on having the treatment. At the end of this video, I'll give you 3 top tips to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. They're both very different things with very different causes though, and you need to know the difference between your eyelid and your eyebrow dropping, because in reality, they can actually look a lot more similar than you might think. Here's how it happens. When Botox is injected, sometimes it makes its way inside the eye socket, affecting the levator palpebrae superioris muscle, which is responsible for opening the eyelid. The eyebrow, on the other hand, can sometimes drop because the forehead muscle above it isn't able to pull it upwards anymore. Here's how Botox goes wrong to lead to these things actually happening. In this video here, I'm carrying out Botox around the brow area to try and give it a bit of a lift. However, you can see my needle is very shallow when injecting at this point because it's almost parallel to the skin surface. If I went really deep with a vertical needle, then I'd place the Botox deep down on the edge of the eye socket where it can easily cause a droopy eyelid by traveling inside the socket itself. From here, this is where it affects the levator palpebrae superioris muscle by switching it off and therefore preventing the eyelid from being pulled all the way up as normal. For a droopy eyebrow, take a look at the forehead Botox I'm doing here and pay attention to how far my injection is from the eyebrow. This is really important because the forehead muscle, called the frontalis, is the only muscle holding and pulling the eyebrows up. So if we relax or switch it off too close to the brow, then nothing holds it up anymore. Hence why it then drops and we get a droopy eyebrow. But the problems don't end there. Because what do you do if your eyelid actually droops? Well, sometimes you can use aproclonidine drops on the eye to temporarily lift the eyelid for around 4 to 6 hours at a time, depending on your medical history. It's not a permanent solution, but until the Botox wears off in roughly 3 months, it's a relatively low cost and reliable method to treat the symptom. Other times, it could even be that you have one eyelid lower than the other naturally, but you've never noticed. It's more common than you think, so look very closely at photos of yourself. For example, look at Jeff Bezos in this picture. Notice how one eyelid is genuinely lower than the other just naturally. You could have it too, but you just don't realize it. You can avoid all these risks happening to you by following these 3 top tips. Number 1, don't inject deep if you're going close to the eye socket. This way, you make it very difficult for Botox to travel inside the socket itself and stop the eyelid muscle from activating. Number 2, don't inject forehead Botox too low and close to the brow. If you do, there's more brow drop risk, so give yourself some distance of around 2 centimeters at least from the eyebrow to the closest injection point on the forehead. Number 3, this one's really important. Watch it being done so you know what to look for during your own treatment. And conveniently for you guys, there's a video of it right here.